Hey guys, I wanted to make a quick video update on the privacy coins video that I made just because the video quality wasn't that great, so I'm going to try and up the quality on this one, see if the changes I make are any better. If they are, let me know. Anyways, I'm going to go over this pretty quickly, but I want to do a quick rundown of all these coins here and why this really looks good for ZCoin and PIVX in particular. I like ZCoin above all because ZCoin is proof of work, and proof of work has sort of proven itself more so than proof of stake. And PIVX already has a higher market cap than ZCoin, so the potential in ZCoin it's insane. But we're going to examine all these coins and their privacy the implications of their privacy protocols. But I also want to add in that we're also going to add in the privacy protocol called Bulletproofs. That's the most recent privacy protocol to come out, and Bulletproofs significantly improve the sender and recipient privacy. They hide the transaction amounts. I don't know if it completely breaks the transaction link, but Bulletproofs are a great technology, and they really improve the privacy of mini coins. Particularly, they greatly improve like Dash. It's like a match made in heaven for Dash. Dash, its privacy, well, it's actually probably better than Monero with Bulletproofs, and then it has a couple advantages on Monero where Dash can now make the claim that it's just simply better than Monero, and Dash could also make the claim it's better than things like Zcash. We'll get to that. But the bulletproofs offer one additional thing for things like Dash. Well, not necessarily so much for Dash, but bulletproofs also greatly reduce the transaction bloat on a blockchain. So that's actually better for things like Monero and ZCoin, which had really high blockchain bloat. So before, where Monero, the main thing was, hey, it's got high blockchain bloat. Now it's going to have lower blockchain bloat, and so will ZCoin. And so the blockchain bloat's not really going to matter as much anymore. So that's really a huge thing for both Monero and ZCoin. So bulletproofs are super good for Dash's privacy. They're great for Monero's blockchain bloat problem. They're great for ZCoin's blockchain bloat problem, and they also make ZCoin it makes ZCoin have zero negatives. So we'll get to ZCoin in a little bit. Let's talk about Monero. The one thing about Monero, unlike Dash, like with Dash, it's a very honest group. It's like I really like a lot of the things about Dash, but because they're sort of more honest, they get sort of bad press, and they seem like they have really bad privacy, even though they have really good privacy. But with bulletproofs, again, the privacy on Dash, the recipient privacy, sender privacy, hiding transaction amounts, like they'll have cryptographic privacy. That all becomes equally competitive with Monero. I don't know about transaction link being broken, but if it is, because Monero is also adding bulletproofs, it'll be the same for both. So they're both the same all the way through. Is there network trust required in Dash? Sort of. That's a negative for it. The anonymity set size for both Dash and Monero will probably go up, so that's great for both of them. The one thing that Dash has over Monero is it has an auditable coin supply. So with Dash, you can always check all the coins on the blockchain, make sure they're there, make sure nothing's ever happened, make sure there's been no bugs or anything like that. And Dash did have a bug once in the beginning of its creation, like the first blocks were mined incredibly quickly, so there was like 1 million or 2 million Dash mined in a few days or something like that. I don't know exactly how it worked out, but there's always been problems with coins, and an auditable supply helps to ensure that those are easy to see. Monero would have been able to see that because you can see the Coinbase transactions, obviously, in the blocks being created. But there are issues with Monero's supply not being auditable, and the issue is that you can never see if there's been coins that have been duplicated without knowing the bug that has duplicated the coin. So this happened to Monero once. Some researchers found a bug that could have caused a duplication of coins, and nobody would have known about it, or nobody knew about it and could have done anything about it until they found the bug. So if some like hacker would have found out about it and would have duplicated the coins already, it would have happened, and there would have been really nothing that Monero could have done, because how would you go back and reverse, years worth of data if it happened years ago? So Monero's at a big risk of any sort of bugs being found that cause duplication of coins, and those do happen quite a bit. Like it happened to Bitcoin once, where in one or two transactions 92 billion Bitcoin were created, and since the only thing you can see in Monero is the Coinbase transaction, you would never know if two transactions, did that same sort of thing to Monero, and it was a stack overflow issue. So I'm assuming Monero sort of has things in place for that, but because Monero is a new like it does ring signatures, but it does it all so privately. Like, how do you really audit this, and how do you know that there's no issues going on? You know, there's no way to prevent that. So that's a real big issue. So Dash has big advantages over Monero in terms of auditability. Monero, there's no trust required for anything whatsoever. So those are the two ways those two compete, but they're very competitive here, and I'm a big fan of auditable coin supply, especially because you need auditable coin supply for simple, smart transactions that just link to a person's address and then, you know, pay them back or do whatever it is linked through that address itself. And something like Monero, since there's such privacy, it can be harder to link things through the public blockchain because you need a key image to see that information. So you sort of have to be involved with a transaction, otherwise you can't really have smart contracts related to things involved with addresses and stuff like that, which, you know, whatever, that's a really in-depth argument anyways. But Monero and Dash very competitive with each other. If we talk about Zcash, Zcash is one coin that they really overstate a lot of the things that Zcash has. It's definitely worth its price, and it's definitely probably worth more than Monero and Dash, but they've got a lot of things to fix. The first thing to fix is the private transaction computation time. It's minutes right now. I think they're getting it down to 7 seconds, which is doable, especially for the digital space. Like, it's hard to do in retail transactions and a lot of retail transactions, but you could do it. It's just you got to make sure that you don't make any mistakes when you do it. Then, you know, like maybe you don't even have someone swipe a pin. It's just a card. You swipe the card, because if you have to swipe a pin and you screw up the pin, like 2 times and you have to wait 7 seconds, that's way too much. But they've got to get that computation time down. Otherwise, it's not really viable in retail transactions. So it's going to get beat by things that are like ZCoin. It's got a trusted setup right now, and its trusted setup's an ugly trusted setup where, you know, if any of the founders colluded, everybody's screwed, and then the founders can use can infinitely inflate the coin, and there's no way anybody can see that. With something like ZCoin, yeah, ZCoin has a trusted setup, but they protect their trusted setup with RSA math, and when you protect it with math like that, like you've got to undo the math, which is basically impossible because of the way the math works out. Otherwise, you can't do anything to the blockchain, and you can never infinitely inflate the coin like you can with Zcash because the blockchain's auditable in ZCoin. So Zcash has a trusted setup, and it's a really ugly trusted setup. But so long as they did it correctly, which they probably did do it correctly, since, you know, if they didn't do it correctly, they screw everything up. So long as they did it correctly, it's fine. But it's got no auditable coin supply, and that's an issue, just like I said for Monero. What happens if people infinitely inflate the coin on the shielded transactions for Zcash? There's nothing you can do. That being said, if they try and flood all the shielded coins back onto the transparent network, you'll know about it, because you know about the value or the number of coins on the transparent network. So, you know, that makes it less of an issue than it is in Monero, but it's still an issue. So Zcash still has auditability issues. And then finally, the privacy on Zcash, it's not actually as good as they say it is, because if you go straight from a transparent address to a shielded address back to a transparent address, then all you have to do is subtract the fee, and you can basically figure out who paid who. And so you can't actually trace things through Zcash, whereas something like ZCoin you really can't. Especially considering that ZCoin's moving to use bulletproof. So like I said, the privacy on ZCoin, it goes through the roof, and ZCoin will have basically no negatives. Because the thing about bulletproofs is bulletproofs for ZCoin and PIVX, and again, ZCoin, it's so undervalued right now because it's proof of work, which, you know, it's proved itself more than proof of stake, and it's got a lower value than PIVX. But anyways, ZCoin, with bulletproofs, all the negatives on it go away. The recipient privacy should be green box. Hides transaction amount should be green box. Again, it's optional privacy, so the balances are visible for the normal token, and you want them to be. But that's all that matters. There is no network trust required. It's instant transactions. The anonymity set is as high as it can be. It's quantum proof, and the main thing that Bulletproofs do for ZCoin is it completely removes the trusted setup. Like I said, for ZCoin and Pivx, they did have a trusted setup, but you had to break the math, so you could basically trust it anyways. Now they're with Bulletproofs that they're going to come out with here in the next coming months. Trusted setup's gone completely. So if you look at this with Bulletproofs, there's no negatives on ZCoin. Okay, that red box and recipient privacy turns to green. The hides transaction amount turns to green. Obviously, it's optional, so the balances are visible on the normal tokens, but that's a feature that allows smart contracts to just link to someone's transaction address, and you don't even need to know who owns the address, because like we said, you've got perfect privacy within ZCoin, so you can have an address that people don't know whose identity it is. They just know it's one person's identity, and that identity can have a reputation with it, even if they don't know that it's you who is linked to that identity. But so anyways, yeah, it's got balances visible on normal addresses, just because that's the way that you want it to be. It's got no network trust, instant transactions, highest anonymity set you can have, quantum proof privacy, no trusted setup. So with Bulletproofs, there's no negatives to ZCoin. So this really is really massive news for ZCoin, and ZCoin should go out there and just tell everyone, like, there's nothing that any other coin can say they're better at than ZCoin. Even things like Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin BTC. Like, Bitcoin BTC has zero privacy whatsoever. Bitcoin Cash has privacy like Dash, and even if Bitcoin Cash adopts Bulletproofs, it still can't say it's zero knowledge privacy, and it still can't say it's got an anonymity set of thousands of people, so ZCoin still has advantages over things like Bitcoin Cash. And the other thing we've seen happening recently, and this is what I've said is going to happen, is 51% attacks are rising. So for coins that have really low block rewards, things like Bitcoin Private, they're going to run into a lot of issues. Things like Verge have already run into a lot of issues. And Verge, its block reward drops to 0, I think, in a couple of years, which is terrible in terms of providing security for the network. So expect a shitload of 51% attacks then. And the one thing too that's funny about Verge is, if you look at this chart here, is like I said, I've said this for the longest time. I'm pretty sure that they were just stealth addresses, though I saw some articles that said they might be ring signatures, but turns out they're just ring signatures, so they're not even a private blockchain. They can't even do hash functions right. Like, Verge is a joke of a coin, and the fact that it's so high up in terms of market cap really tells me that we've still got a long way to go in this bear market. That's just insane to me. It's going to drop to 0 someday, but again, if you look at this chart here is very bullish on zero coins, specifically ZCoin, because it's proof of work, but also Pivx as well. And it also, the one thing that Pivx has going for it, these 51% attacks on proof of work coins have proven that when a coin has a low block reward, the security of the network is negatively affected. So Pivx has its block reward lasts longer. It's not like a very high block reward, but it just lasts longer into the future. So that's also very bullish news for Pivx. So Pivx and ZCoin look phenomenal with the coming Bulletproofs, and they look like there's nothing that can stop them. They are, technically speaking, they've got the best technology behind them. They're the dominant proof of work and proof of stake next generation coins. Pivx, again, like I said, because its block reward lasts longer, Pivx will last for a long time, ZCoin will last for a long time. And again, these coins that have lower block rewards like Monero, Dash, and Bitcoin Cash, even though they have privacy protocols, the low block reward's a negative thing for security. So that's why ZCoin and Pivx are looking so good. Things like Zcash still looks good because it's a young coin, so it doesn't have any of those security issues related to having a low block reward. The issues it has is in regards to the implementation of its privacy protocol. Again, just so you guys know, the only reason for the creation of Zcash was because ZCoin had very high proof sizes, but the Bulletproofs lower the proof sizes on ZCoin by it's like a factor of 20 basically. So by lowering it by a factor of 20, Zcash was a factor of 50 lower proof sizes than ZCoin. So that was the main advantage, but it had all these other weaknesses in that it took minutes for private transactions. Its trusted setup was a really bad trusted setup, and there was no auditable supply. Well, now with Bulletproof, ZCoin has just eliminated the one reason Zcash existed, and Zcash still has all these negatives. Again, the private transaction speed, it's it's being improved to 7 seconds, but that's still not good. The trusted setup still exists, and there's still no auditable supply. So as of right now, ZCoin's better than Zcash on everything, and even privacy, like we said, you can track someone from transparent addresses to a shielded address back to a transparent address. So ZCoin even has better privacy. So ZCoin's got better privacy. It's much faster. It's got no trusted setup with these bulletproofs, and the audit, or you can audit its supply. So it's better in every single way, except it's got just a little bit more or higher size to its private transactions. But the one thing about private transactions with ZCoin is if you do a ZCoin, if you mint 100 ZCoin, then you can spend those 100 ZCoin after that, and the size of spending that transaction is the size of a normal transaction. With Zcash, with each individual zero cash transaction, you have to do the zero cash proof, and so it doesn't take that many private transactions for ZCoin to actually be more efficient than Zcash. So even on the efficiency side, ZCoin wins. So ZCoin wins in all categories. And I really hope the community understands this, because this is a massive thing for ZCoin, and it's really undermarketed. I'm not saying that the ZCoin community or like the ZCoin team itself, I'm not speaking to the ZCoin development team, they don't really need to change anything, but the community really needs to educate people that there is nothing that any other coin does better than ZCoin. ZCoin is the best at everything as far as privacy is concerned. It does privacy better than Monero. It scales better than Monero. It does privacy better than Dash. It scales better than Dash. It does privacy better than Zcash. It scales better than Zcash. It's faster than Zcash. It's faster than basically everything. It does everything perfectly. This is why I'm so bullish on ZCoin. I'm going to make a bunch of videos on ZCoin here coming up in the future. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I know it's sort of a rehash of an old video, but I realized that the quality on that video was not very good, and I didn't understand that you guys weren't seeing it from, you know, the quality that I was seeing it from. So I hope this makes this a little bit better. The link to this chart is below. But yeah, you can just look at this all right there. Again, just remember, all bulletproofs do is it removes the trusted setup for ZCoin, and it makes the bloat size much smaller for Monero. It gives basically Dash equal privacy to Monero, and on all those the first 4 categories right there, bulletproofs basically turn green. I don't know if it breaks the transaction link entirely, but yeah, bulletproofs are a big thing that weren't added into this. But other than that, this chart is basically perfect, and it's one of the best charts that I've ever seen in the crypto space ever. So it's really great. So I want to thank the people who made it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video more. Hopefully you can see that picture a little bit better. Again, I'm going to be making some videos on ZCoin here coming up in the future that I think are going to be very interesting for you guys, and very educational. So I hope you'll enjoy those as well. So just stay tuned.